What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Tuesday, April 4th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 13-game slate tonight. So let's take a look at the point guard position. So I'm going to start off with a value play. I like Dante DiVincenzo from the Golden State Warriors playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 7th worst defense overall, give up the 6th most fantasy points defending opposing point guards. Dante DiVincenzo has averaged 23 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with a 15% usage rate. He's projected at 25.3 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 6.2 times value. He's 4,100 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 242.5 points scored in this game, and Dante DiVincenzo has scored 45, 11, and 26 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 20, and 22 minutes. So this is a good matchup. His price tag is low, and he's going to get you well over 5 times value, even if he only scores his season average here tonight. And take a look at this. He scored 31, 32, 24, and 29 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Thunder. So I like Dante DiVincenzo here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I still think Josh Giddey is too cheap for his upside, especially on FanDuel. So I like Josh Giddey from the Oklahoma City Thunder playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 10th worst defense overall, give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Josh Giddey has averaged 37.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 25% usage rate. Now, he's projected at 37.9 fantasy points here tonight, but Josh Giddey has 50 plus fantasy point upside. I think he can score 45 plus fantasy points here tonight, get you well over 5 times value. He's 8,700 DraftKings salary, 700 less on FanDuel. So I love that FanDuel price. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 242.5 points scored in this game. So I think this is a good game to stack here tonight. And Josh Giddey has scored 40, 36, and 37 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 32, and 34 minutes. So I think he's due for a breakout game here, and he scored 60, 38, 44, 42, and 27 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Warriors. And take a look at this. So Josh Giddey hasn't, he scored 40, 36, and 37 fantasy points in his last 3 games, but he scored 59 and 48 fantasy points in the 2 games before that. If you go through his scoring log, you're going to find a lot of 50 plus fantasy point performances. And at only 8,700 DraftKings salary or 700 less on FanDuel, he's got the chance to crush value here tonight. So I like Josh Giddey here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, I also like Tyler Hero from the Miami Heat playing the Detroit Pistons, who have the 3rd worst defense overall, give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Tyler Hero has averaged 36 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 26% usage rate. He's projected at 37.2 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.5 times value. He's 6,700 DraftKings salary, 400 more on FanDuel, and Tyler Hero has scored 29, 21, and 47 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 36, 35, and 36 minutes. And take a look at this. Tyler Hero has scored 34, 49, 43, and 43 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Pistons. So it's a fantastic matchup. Plenty of upside with this pick. So I like Tyler Hero here versus the Detroit Pistons.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And then we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. So I like Klay Thompson from the Golden State Warriors playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 7th worst defense overall, give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Also eligible at the shooting guard position, Klay Thompson has averaged 34.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 35.7 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 7,000 DraftKings salary, 400 more on FanDuel. We know Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game, so it's a good game to stack. Klay Thompson has scored 41, 42, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 34, and 34 minutes. And he scored 37, 51, 45, and 34 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Thunder. So I like Klay Thompson here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now you could also consider Michael Porter Jr. here from the Denver Nuggets playing the Houston Rockets, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Michael Porter Jr. has averaged 29 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 28.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's just about 5 times value. He's 5,800 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel. And Michael Porter Jr. scored 46 fantasy points last game, playing 33 minutes. So I like Michael Porter Jr. here versus the Houston Rockets. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. So I like DeMar DeRozan from the Chicago Bulls playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 6th worst defense overall, give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. DeMar DeRozan has averaged 41.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He's projected at 41.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 8,200 DraftKings salary, 600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 234.5 points scored in this game. DeMar DeRozan has scored 50, 35, and 41 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 32, and 38 minutes. So I think he's set to play 36 to 38 minutes here tonight. And he scored, wow, take a look at this. DeMar DeRozan has scored 42, 45, 63, 45, and 51 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Hawks. Hasn't scored under 41 in his last 5 games in general. Price tag is awfully reasonable for a guy in such a good matchup with such good player versus team history. He had 41% usage rate last game. So I like DeMar DeRozan here versus the Atlanta Hawks.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Now, if you're looking for a value play here at the power forward position, also eligible at the small forward position, take a look at Patrick Williams from the Chicago Bulls playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 6th worst defense overall, give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Patrick Williams has averaged 20.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. He's projected at 21 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.2 times value. He's 4,000 DraftKings salary, 800 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 234.5 points scored in this game. Patrick Williams has scored 26, 19, and 8 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 26, 24, and 24 minutes. So I like this pick because he scored 37, 26, and 21 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Hawks. A lot of risk with this pick, but he is only 4,000 DraftKings salary. So I like Patrick Williams as a value play here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, moving on to the center position. I like Alperen Sengun from the Houston Rockets playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing centers. Alperen Sengun has averaged 34.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He's projected at 35 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 6,900 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. And Alperen Sengun has scored 55, 41, and 44 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 38, 34, and 33 minutes. So look at that boost in minutes. He went from averaging 29 minutes per game on the season to playing 33, 34, and 38 minutes the last 3 games. Production has ramped up as a result. So I like Alperen Sengun here versus the Denver Nuggets.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.